Shalom, shalom, Israel. Most High Christ bless. Most High Christ bless. We're here again. My name's Officer Yakin here from IUIC Philadelphia. We're going to continue this morning the class from previous, the Sermon on the Mount. This is going to be Sermon on the Mount. Was it the Sermon on the Mount? Surpassing the Pharisees in the law. All right, so let's get going. Let's start with Romans 15, verse 4.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So we know the scriptures tell us that whatever is written before is written for our learning. Likewise, Christ, the apostles, they all read according to our forefathers in the what we call the Old Testament writings, all right? That's where they went to teach what we see in the Gospels, what we see in Paul's letters, what we see in what we call the New Testament scriptures, okay? So let me read that again.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
All right, let's go do a little recap from last time. Give me Matthew 5, start at verse 14.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid.
Read.
Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house.
Read.
Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
So we ended the last class in verse 16. So here's just letting you know, let your light shine. So Christ's been talking about the whole time about basically keeping the laws. Blessed are you, where it says, blessed are the poor, blessed are those that mourn, blessed are those the meek. We went through this in the last class, the last time I taught, right? So here, these last three verses is concluding with, let your light shine. Let the law that's within you shine. Let people see your good works. Let people see what you're doing, okay? So that's what we're doing. That's what Christ was teaching. The whole point of me going into this class is to show that Christ went back into our forefathers to teach what he's teaching here when he first started preaching after he came down from fasting in Matthew chapter 4. So let's get into Matthew 5:17.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17.
And this verse right here we're about to read is probably one of the most misused verses, apart from, of course, John 3:16 and the typical verses that Christians go to in modern Christianity today. But this verse 17 is probably the most misquoted, misunderstood, misconstrued verses that modern Christianity today, these apologetics use today. All right, so we're going to break this down. Read.
Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
So Christ is letting us know, don't even have the thought that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. Don't even think about it, all right? So if he's telling us not to even think that he didn't come to destroy the law, don't even think about it. That shouldn't even be a thought in your head. That shouldn't. Why today? Because Christ said, think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm not come to destroy, but to fulfill. People try to find a loophole around that. Oh, he's not destroying it, he's fulfilling, so now you don't got to keep it no more. And that's just a bunch of hogwash. It's nonsense, right? Because what they tend to do is this. They say he fulfilled the law, but they never mention the prophets. How do you fulfill the prophets? In their context, right? How do you fulfill the prophets? Because they always say, oh, he came to fulfill the law, he came to fulfill the law. But how about the prophets? How do you fulfill the prophets within the context and the logic that they're trying to bring this verse and understanding to? Because when they say he fulfilled the law, he kept it, so we don't have to keep it. So how do you keep the prophets? Please explain to me. It makes no sense. So give me Acts 3, verse 18. Start at 18.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 3, verse 18. But those things which God before have shewed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Christ should suffer, he have so fulfilled.
So read that again.
But those things which God before have shewed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Christ should suffer, he have so fulfilled.
So Christ was shown in the mouth of the prophets, the prophecies in the Old Testament writings about the things that he was going to do, the prophecies he was going to fulfill. So he's not coming to destroy or to change anything. He's just coming to fulfill the things that are written in the Old Testament or the Old Testament writings. All right? He ain't coming to change nothing. He ain't destroying nothing. He's not changing nothing. He's fulfilling those prophecies that spoke of him and the things that he still has to do that still has yet to be fulfilled. All right? Read that again.
But those things which God before have shewed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Christ should suffer, he have so fulfilled.
He has so fulfilled. He has suffered. He has fulfilled the suffering that was written of him by the prophets. When it's Moses, when it's Isaiah, Jeremiah, you have King David. You had all the prophets spoke of him coming, him suffering, so on and so forth. He has fulfilled that suffering. All right? Give me Luke chapter 24.
Luke
verse 44.
Chapter 24 and verse 44.
Uh-huh.
And he said unto them, these are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which are written in the law of Moses.
Which were written in the law of Moses, read.
And in the prophets.
Read.
And in the Psalms concerning me.
Everything has to be fulfilled. Everything that's written of him in the Old Testament writings, the law, the prophets, the Psalms, it has to be fulfilled. And guess what? All of them are yet to be fulfilled. He has yet to come back. He has yet to punish those that are wearing strange apparel. He has yet to recompense and to plead with them with fire. When you read in Isaiah 66, there's still many prophecies that Christ has yet to fulfill. Let's go back to Matthew 5:17.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
He's come to fulfill the law and the prophets. Let me give you some more examples. Give me Matthew 1, verse 22.
Matthew chapter 1, verse 22. Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled.
All this was done that it might be fulfilled, because that's why Christ came. He didn't come to destroy. Imagine if we were to go along with what they say and teach, that he came and fulfilled certain things so you don't have to do it no more, or you don't have to keep the laws and the prophets. So that means that the prophecies of Christ coming and dying and suffering, like, that doesn't matter. That's just all gone and done away with. It's abolished or destroy, or whatever roundabout way they want to go about explaining these things incorrectly. Go read 22 again.
Now all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophets, saying,
by the prophet,
saying, behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. Which being interpreted is God with us.
So which prophet prophesied this? Isaiah did. Give me Isaiah 7. Isaiah prophesied this. This is one of the prophecies from one of the prophets that has been fulfilled by Christ. He didn't come to destroy the law of the prophets. He came to fulfill the things that they wrote of him. He came to fulfill it, not to change anything. Read 7:14.
Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign.
The Lord himself shall give us a sign. Who's that sign? Read.
Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
The sign is the son, not the woman, because this day and age you got woman worship, you got Ashtaroth, you got Easter coming up for these pagan Christians, right? That's all woman worship. The sign is the son, not the virgin that's going to conceive. All right, let's prove that. Let's go to Luke chapter 1 or chapter 2, verse 11 and 12.
The book of Luke chapter 2 and verse 11. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord.
So this is Christ born unto us, read.
And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, laying in a manger.
The babe is the sign. The babe is the sign. Not the woman, not the virgin that shall conceive, but the babe. All right? And this is simple reading comprehension. If it says a virgin shall conceive, you could be a virgin and be prophesied to conceive, meaning you're going to have relations later on with your husband. All right? But that's just basic reading comprehension. Yeah, let's jump to verse 34.
Verse 34.
Uh-huh.
And Simeon blessed them and said unto Mary his mother, Behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against.
And for a sign. Again, Christ is that sign. Emmanuel, God with us. He's the sign, not his mother. Nothing against her. She was a chosen vessel from the Lord, you know, but he's the sign. Christ is the sign. He's the Savior. He's the King, not the woman. All right? So let's stop that nonsense. Let's go back to Matthew 2. No, let's go to Matthew. Where were we? We were in Matthew 1?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to another one. That was Isaiah that prophesied that in Matthew 1:22. Let's go to Matthew 2, verse 15.
Matthew chapter 2 and verse 15. And was there until the death of Herod.
So this is they went to Egypt. They were told to go to Egypt because Herod was looking for Christ to kill him because he heard about his birth, all right? So now they were in Egypt until Herod was dead. Read.
That it might be fulfilled.
That it might be fulfilled. Again, another fulfillment. Read.
Which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet.
What prophet? Hosea. Read.
Saying, out of Egypt have I called my son.
So that's another prophecy by another prophet. You have Isaiah, now you got Hosea. Keep reading.
Verse 16. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and set forth, and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men.
So I've read some history books where it says that Herod even killed his own toddler, his own son that was 2 and under, because how afraid he was of the Messiah coming. I mean, of course, we know that his son was an Edomite nonetheless, but that's how afraid he was. He was just killing every child that was 2 and under, including his own. Keep reading.
Verse 17. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, in Ramah.
So another prophecy fulfilled, written by another prophet, Jeremiah. So do you see what's going on here? He came not to destroy, but to fulfill these prophecies. You have Isaiah, you have Hosea, you have Jeremiah. We read in Acts 3, the prophets talked about his suffering that he fulfilled. You have Luke 24:44, everything written in Moses, the law, the prophets, the Psalms have to be fulfilled. Everything written of him has to be fulfilled. You can't just exclude, he fulfilled the law. How about the prophets? How do you fulfill the prophets in the same context as you're using it to fulfill the law? It doesn't make any sense. They always keep that part out. How do you fulfill the prophets within that logic that you're trying to break that scripture down? It doesn't line up. It does not line up. Let's go now to, we read, let's go to, that was Hosea. Let's read Hosea 11:1 for the prophecy in verse 15. And let's go to Jeremiah 31:15 after that.
The book of Hosea, chapter 11 and verse 1. When Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that was the prophecy in Matthew chapter 2, verse 15. That's where they cited from, Hosea is the one that prophesied about that. Now let's go jump to Jeremiah 31:15.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 15.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not.
So that's the prophet Jeremiah prophesying about Christ. All right. So now let's get another prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled. Give me Exodus 15. Exodus 15, verse 13. 13.
The book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 13. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation.
So this is after Passover. We were liberated out of Egypt. This is what's going on now. Read.
The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Philistia.
Of Palestina.
Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed, and mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Now
you're reading this and you might be thinking that it's talking about something that had already happened, right? Or something that's going to soon to happen after the Exodus. But no, keep reading.
Fear and dread shall fall upon them.
Upon who? Edom, the inhabitants of Palestina, Moab, the inhabitants of Canaan. They're going to be fearful, right? Fear and dread is going to fall upon them, read.
By the greatness of thine arm.
That's Christ, read.
They shall be as still as a stone. Till thy people pass over, O Lord. Till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased.
Which thou hast purchased. So remember in I'm going to veer off a bit. Give me Deuteronomy 28:68. This is another thing that these apologetics, these modern Christians, because they can't come against us in the scriptures. And they're trying to attack Deuteronomy 28, the curses. Give me, read 68.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Who else went into slavery with ships if it's not us so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? Who else? And those of us that got scattered throughout the world. Who else if not us? Nobody else went through the global captivity on ships like we did at all. Nobody. Nobody could claim that history at all. And now they're trying to hide it. They're trying to take it away from history books. They're trying to send out different, translations of the Bible to make it say something else. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
And we will not go back into that land of Egypt as a nation again ever. That's what is being talked about here. Read.
In there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
That's what they get hung up on. And no man shall buy you. We just read it. Read Exodus 15:16, that last part.
Exodus chapter 15, verse 16.
O Lord.
O Lord, to the people pass over, which thou hast purchased.
Which thou hast purchased. How did he purchase us from Egypt? He saved us. He destroyed the Egyptians and he saved us out of captivity. That's what it means to be purchased. So when it goes back to Deuteronomy 28:68, no man shall buy you. Nobody's going to purchase us and save us and redeem us from captivity. Until this day, we're still in captivity, waiting for Christ to come back and save us and purchase us once again. That's what that means. And actually, read, verse 29 in that same chapter in Deuteronomy 28?
Verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. and no man shall save thee.
No man shall save you. No man shall buy you. We won't be purchased and redeemed. Because as a slave, you could be bought and then set free. All right? So let's go back to Exodus 15. That was a quick little veer off. 15, 16 again. So
Exodus.
Once again, to bring it to thought, this right here, what we're reading, Exodus 15, is another prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled, that will be fulfilled. What? The fear and the dread falling upon the inhabitants of Palestine, Edom, Moab, and the inhabitants of Canaan. That has yet to happen. Read.
Chapter 15, verse 16. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine arm, they shall be as still as a stone. Till thy people pass over, O Lord, to the people pass over which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established.
You see, the Lord did not establish that tabernacle, that sanctuary in the wilderness. He didn't do it with his hands. That's letting you know that's not talking about then. That's talking about now. The Passover now, us coming out of the north country and being put back in our place, and fear and dread falling upon Edom, Moab, the Canaanites, the inhabitants of Palestina. The Lord has not brought down the sanctuary that he made, established with his own hands yet. That's letting you know that this is a future prophecy that he has to fulfill. He has to put fear in Moab. He has to put fear in Edom, the inhabitants of Palestina, the inhabitants of Canaan. It's happening right now. The wars and the rumors of wars, that has to be fulfilled. Everything has to be fulfilled. But people are just, our people in the world, they still believe in white man Jesus. They still believe in modern Christianity, all these lies. But this here has to be fulfilled. How can Christ love the world and everybody in the world and all the nations? Yet right here it says that the Edomites, the Moabites, the inhabitants of Palestina and Canaan, they're all going to be dreadful. They're all going to be fearful in that day when he puts his people back in there and brings back his sanctuary that he established with his own hands. Read 18.
Verse 18. The Lord shall reign forever and ever.
The Lord shall reign forever and ever. You see this? At this moment, Moses understood that the tabernacle we had in the wilderness was not the tabernacle, the true tabernacle. Give me Hebrews 8, verse 1. I'll show you real quick. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 1.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 1. Now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle.
Of the true tabernacle. Not the tabernacle that was here on earth. Not Solomon's temple. Not the tabernacle that we set up and pitched in the wilderness for 40 years. No. The true tabernacle is up in heaven. Read.
Which the Lord pitched.
Which the Lord pitched. He established it with his own hands. Read.
And not man.
Not man. Read.
For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices.
Isn't Christ our high priest? He's ordained to offer. What did he offer? He offered his own body. Read.
Wherefore, it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer.
Give me hold that. Give me John chapter 20, verse 17. He offered his own body. He's the high priest. When you read the previous chapter, Hebrews 7, it tells you he's a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. He never dies, so he's always going to be that perpetual high priest. Because as we know with the Levitical priesthood, the high priest, after his death, then the next one will take the priesthood, the high priesthood, all right? But with Christ, he's what? He's in perpetuity because he does not die. He is forever, everlasting. He shall reign forever. So his priesthood is not going to change from one man to another. No, he's the high priest forever. Give me that. John 20, verse 17.
The book of John, chapter 20, verse 17. Jesus say unto her, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God.
So he went up to offer his body because he's a high priest. He's a final sacrifice, the ultimate and perfect sacrifice without blemish, without sin. So yes, he had offered something himself. All right, let's go back to Hebrews 8.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 2.
Verse 3.
Verse 3. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. Wherefore, it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law.
You see, because you already had the Levites, the Levitical priests, Aaron's sons, Aaron and his sons, right? They were the priests, so why would he come and be that priest? He already had a priesthood in the heavenly, the true tabernacle, so there was no necessity of him to come down here and be a priest. Because he already had the priests, the Levites. All right, read.
Who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things.
They serve as an example of the heavenly, as an example of what Christ did, of an example of what Christ is, the high priest in the true tabernacle. Read.
As Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle.
So Moses was admonished of God when he went to make that tabernacle. That tabernacle is a shadow, a figure of the true tabernacle. Read.
For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shewed unto thee in the mount.
You see, so Moses saw and he made it according to what he saw. So Moses already knew, all right, what I'm making here on earth is not what's up there. It's a replica. It is something to hold us off until the true comes. That's what we were waiting for the whole time. But what happened? We got caught up, just going through the motions, sacrificing. Nowadays, what they do, they water baptism is part of the shadow of things to come, because now we're cleansed through the water. Now the sacrifices, the animal sacrifices, that's now fulfilled in what? Christ, because that was a shadow of Christ. That was another prophecy. All them animal sacrifices was prophecy of who? Was showing who? Christ. The water cleansing rituals was what? The word cleaning us. The tabernacle, the true tabernacle was up there. All these things were a shadow of things to come. All these services and works of the law, these are the works of the law that are not going to justify us. This is what it's talking about. Until all be fulfilled. We finished there? Let me show you. Give me Exodus 25. Exodus 25, verse 9.
The book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 9.
Yep.
According to all that I showed thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it.
So Moses, again, we're just showing you that he saw the tabernacle and he had to pattern what we were doing down here according to what he saw, according to what God showed him. Let's go to same chapter. Let's go to verse 40.
25, verse 40.
Yes.
And look, that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount.
So he's talking about the vessels. He saw the vessels up there in the mount, because you have the altar of incense, you have the menorah, you have the gold vessels in there, you have the laver, you have the altar, you have all these things which were a shadow of the true. Moses saw these things, so he knew how things needed to be made. How do you think he was able to inspect and to make sure things were correct? Because he saw it. Let's go to next chapter, verse 30.
Exodus chapter 26, verse 30. And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was shewed thee in the mount.
So when he went up to the mountain, right, Mount Sinai, he wasn't just given 10 commandments. He was not just given 10 commandments. He was given the law, statutes, and commandments, all of them along with how the tabernacle needed to be made, how the altar, the laver, the vessels, the altar of incense, the holy of holies, the ark of the covenant, the courtyard and the outside of the tabernacle, all those things, Aaron's garments, his son's garments, so on and so forth. He was shown all these things, like this is how you're going to do it. This is how you're going to anoint them. All right. Next chapter, verse 8.
Exodus chapter 27, verse 8. Hollow with boards shalt thou make it. As it was shewed thee in the mount, so shalt thou make it.
Again, how I showed you in the mount, that's how you're going to make it. You think he spent 40 days and 40 nights just to receive 10 commandments? Come on. You got to be fooling yourself. Let's go now to chapter 39, verse 43. Yeah.
Exodus
Go
chapter 39, verse 43. And Moses did look upon all the work, and behold, they had done it as the Lord have commanded. Even so had they done it, and Moses blessed them.
Read it again.
And Moses did look upon all the work.
He looked, he inspected it. So this is another thing, if you take note, because a lot of times when brothers and sisters read, especially Exodus and Leviticus, things seem tedious and things are like repeating themselves. But you have to take into account, you had the instructions that were given to Moses by God, the Lord, right? And then you had Moses giving those instructions to us to rear up the tabernacle, do the vessels, and so on and so forth, right? Everything that had to be done, right? And then he had to go and inspect it to make sure it was done correctly. So there you that's order. You get an order from above, from leadership. You have to fulfill that order, or you got to give that same order, and then you have to make sure and confirm that it was done correctly. That is what? Trusting but verifying. That's what a leader does. That's what Moses did. He trusted, but he went and verified and make sure things were done. So he got the order, he gave the order, and then he verified that the order was done correctly, according to what was shown him in the mount. Read that again.
And Moses did look upon all the work.
He looked upon the work. Why? Because he saw it in the mount. Read.
And behold, they had done it as the Lord have commanded. Even so had they done it, and Moses blessed them.
And Moses blessed us. Let's go to Acts chapter 7, verse 44.
The book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 44. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen.
See, that Moses should make it according to what he saw in the mount. So now we have proof, definitive proof, that the tabernacle that we had, the temple that we had here on earth is not the true. It was a shadow of things to come. And along with the things at the altar, you had the main altar, you had the altar of incense, you had the table with the shewbread and the menorah and all the golden vessels and so on and so forth. You had all the animal sacrifices. You had the Levites, the Aaron and his sons as priests. All those things were a shadow of things to come. And the reason why we went into captivity was not because we didn't sacrifice correctly. It was because we were being evil as hell. Hating one another, committing adulteries, fornication, committing murder. These are the things that got us into captivity. All right? And let me prove that. Give me 1 Samuel 15, 22.
1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. And Samuel said, have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice.
That's what he wants from us. He wants us to obey. He don't want these sacrifices. He wants obedience. What's the point in us sacrificing? Meanwhile, we're here committing fornication. We're here getting drunk. We're here getting high. We're here hating our brother. We're here coming to the Sabbath, even today, congregating, and we're having hatred for our own leadership, our own brothers and sisters around us. Murmuring, backbiting, evil, concupiscence, all these lascivious, lustful things. But hey, we're the Israelites. I come to the Sabbath. You full of ish. That's what's going on. It's the same thing our forefathers was doing back then with the sacrifices. You're doing the same thing with the sacrifice of Christ, having all those evil thoughts. Not that we're going to be judged for our thoughts, but we have to take those things into account. If you get bitter, you have to get that bitterness off of you, because eventually it's going to turn into something else. All right. Where we at? Read that again.
Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams.
Okay. Now, give me Hosea 6:6, and then there's let's go back to Exodus after that to show you. To obey is better than sacrifices, right? Go Hosea 6:6. Then we're gonna go to Exodus.
Chapter 6 and verse 6. For I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings.
So once again, it's saying the same thing. You have the prophets. You have first, we read in 1 Samuel. Now we're reading in Hosea. Let's read Exodus 16. Verse 28. This is Exodus 16. Mind you, this is before Mount Sinai. For those that believe the law wasn't there from the very beginning. It's been there from the very beginning. Read. Verse 28.
Exodus chapter 16, verse 28. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws?
How long we refuse to keep his commandments and laws. This is Exodus 16. Now Exodus 20 is when we got the 10 commandments and some from the Lord via Moses. So what laws is he talking? The laws that we have to keep. The same laws that he would prefer us to keep and not sacrifice. These are the laws we have to keep. The Sabbath, the beard, the fringes. Sisters dressing modestly in a dress. Brothers not wearing dresses, because now that's the thing. Brothers wearing dresses and skirts, and they call them kilts or whatever. We have to keep these laws. We have to not have hatred towards one another. We have to keep these high holy days according to the scriptures and the faith of Christ. So the laws, we were breaking them, but he did not want us to sacrifice. He wanted us to obey. The sacrifice was just to hold us off until Christ came. Let's go back to Hosea 6 and 6.
Hosea chapter 6 and verse 6. For I desired mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings.
Give me now Sirach 35 and 1.
Sirach chapter 35 and verse 1. He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering.
You see, when you keep the laws, that's offering enough for the Lord. That's what he wants. He wants obedience and not sacrifice. Christ said it himself too in Matthew. No, do you understand this? I would rather have mercy and not sacrifice. That's the same exact thing that he's talking about. Let's go to now Psalms 40, verse 6.
The book of Psalms, chapter 40 and verse 6. Sacrifice and offering thou didst not desire. Mine ears hast thou opened. Burnt offering and sin offering hast thou not required.
So you see, so he doesn't require these. He'd rather us keep the laws, not break them. Give me 51:16. I'm just showing you it's written all over the scriptures, saying the same thing. Read.
Psalms chapter 51, verse 16. For thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offering.
Imagine this. You think the Lord would want us to sin and sacrifice or not sin at all? Of course, don't sin at all. That's what he prefers. Don't mess up. Don't break my laws. Don't break my laws, you wouldn't have to sacrifice. Don't break my laws, you wouldn't have to die. You wouldn't have to be put to death. Don't break his laws. That's the reason why we went into captivity, for breaking his laws. Read.
Verse 17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. A broken and a contrite heart, O God, thou wilt not despise.
A broken and contrite heart God would not despise. Those that humble themselves to the scriptures. Those that when you come to them and you show them in the scriptures, hey, you're doing something wrong. You humble yourself. You're not offended. You're not trying to find an excuse. But that person does this or that person. Doesn't matter. Worry about yourself. Accept what the scriptures are talking about. And do right. By God, don't worry about what other people think, what other people are doing, because that's what the Pharisees were doing. They were worrying about how they were seen by other men. They were worrying about getting the glory of other men. When you worry about what one person is doing, oh, but that person does this, how about me? That's you seeking the glory of men. How about you do what the Bible says? How about you do what God told you to do?
Yeah.
Right? Now, give me Isaiah 66. A broken and contrite spirit. That's what he will not despise. Isaiah 66 verse 66 verse 2.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 2. For all those things have mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit.
Poor and contrite spirit. What's that person going to do? Read.
And trembleth at my word.
They tremble at God's word. Why? Because God tells us if we break his commandments, we're going to get the second death. So you better be fearful enough. Give me that actually in Psalms. You know what I want. Psalms 119 verse 1. Is it 165? No, it's not that.
160.
Where is this? Is it 60? No. No, 120. Psalms 119, verse 120.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 120. My flesh trembleth for fear of thee, and I am afraid of thy
You
judgment.
see, you have to be afraid of God's judgments. He told us, if we don't repent, if we don't keep his laws, we're done. We're not making the kingdom. We're not getting everlasting life. So be afraid enough to tremble at his word, like, oh, I messed up. I did something wrong. Let me fix it. That's having a contrite spirit, a broken spirit. That is, he won't despise. Go back to Isaiah 66, verse 2.
Isaiah 66, verse 2. For all those things have mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look.
This man he will look. He will not despise, like we read in Psalms 51, verse 17. Read.
Even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word.
See, those kind of spirits, a poor and contrite spirit, they tremble at God's word. When they see God's word, do this, don't do that, they tremble and like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to follow. I'm not going to worry about what other people say or think. I'm going to make sure I'm doing right by the Lord. That's what the scriptures wants. That's what the Most High wants, us to obey, not to follow these mundane tasks, a day-to-day tasks like we were doing back then with these animal sacrifices. Christ already came and did that. He fulfilled it already. All them sacrifices were a shadow of Christ, of the true and ultimate sacrifice. All right? So we honor his sacrifice by keeping and obeying his laws, statutes, and commandments. If we don't do that, then we're just trampling on over his sacrifice, just like we were doing back then with those animals. You finished there?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back to Matthew. Actually, give me what was that, Matthew 27? Yeah, Matthew 27, where the veil rent. 50.
Matthew chapter 27, verse 50. Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom.
So you see that when he died, that signified what? That it's done. All these sacrifices are done. That's why that veil in the Holy of Holies rent and broke in half. That was signifying like that's it. No more. These animal sacrifices are not going to justify you. They're not going to justify us. Give me Matthew 12. Because he says too in Matthew 12, there's one greater than the temple. Yeah, verse 6.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 6. But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple.
What do you mean by that? Because he's the high priest of the true tabernacle. This temple that we had here, that he said was going to be destroyed. Now one stone is going to be on top of another. And they were flabbergasted. They were surprised. Like, yo, how could you say that? He says, yo, there is one greater than, there's one here greater than the temple. I'm the high priest of the true. This is nothing. The veil to the Holy of Holies ripped in half after he died. He didn't want no sacrifices. He just wanted obedience. He wants obedience. Let's go to, what's it, Proverbs 15? Verse 8.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 8. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord.
You see, so if you're wicked and you're over here like we used to do, right? Back in the day. Sacrificing, meanwhile here committing adultery, fornications, having hatred. That's all what? Is an abomination. The Lord doesn't want your sacrifice. Likewise today, how you over here coming to the Sabbath, meanwhile, back at the ranch, you're still watching porn. You're committing adultery. You have hatred towards your brother. You have hatred towards leadership here in the school. You have bitterness and envyings and strifes. That's all, and you're murmuring. Meanwhile, you think you're good because you're wearing fringes. You're coming to the Sabbath. You party it up every high holy day. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of evil inside of you. You're just like the Pharisees. That's what I say. We have to surpass the Pharisees in the law. That's what this class is about. Showing you what Christ was teaching back in our forefathers. That he was fulfilling and still has to fulfill. Read that again.
The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord.
Read.
But the prayer of the upright is his delight.
Give me, let's go to Isaiah 1. Start verse 12.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 1 and verse 12. When ye come to appear before me, who have required this at your hand, to tread my courts.
Read. Keep reading down.
Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting.
You see, so it was an abomination. You know the saying today, was it every time you see a group of blacks and Hispanics together, a fight always breaks out. I know here in Philly, it always happens. You see a group of they call them YNs now, right? YNs. Yo, and you got YHs too, right? You got a whole bunch of YNs and YHs. Yo, you better cross the street. I see why Esau does it. They know the nigga they created, the Negro they created. The same thing here. If I see a bunch of YNs and YHs, they're the dangerous ones too. You know what? I'm going to go this way. I'll see you later. I'm out. Because there's a shootout. Something always pops off. Always. It never fails. Like clockwork. So here it's saying, yo, don't bring no more vain oblations. Stop bringing these sacrifices and these drink offerings for what? So you could go shoot your brother? So you could go sleep with your brother's wife? So you could hate your brother? So you could murmur and do all these evil things? What's the point of these sacrifices then? Read.
Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you.
Read.
Yea, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood.
Your hands are full of blood, hatred, murders, envying, strifes, evil concupiscence. Read.
Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil.
That's how we wash ourselves down. This is a hint of what the true washing is. The words of God, the laws, the commandments are what, if we keep them, it washes us. We got to wash the evil from us. That's what Christ said in John 15. Ye now are clean. Let's get that. I'm horrible at paraphrasing. I don't want to chop and screw it up. It's Matthew 15 verse 3, right? John 15 verse 3, my bad. John chapter 15 verse 3.
Go
ahead.
The book of John, chapter 15 and verse 3.
Yep.
Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you.
You see, the word that he's spoken to us. He told us, if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. If you take those words and you keep them, you're going to be clean. That's what's going to happen. You're going to be clean if you keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Believing in what Christ said, because Christ said it. Christ said, if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. How can you believe in Christ but not believe the words that came out of his mouth? How you believe in Christ and not do the things that Christ told us to do? That makes no sense. These Christians swear that Christ taught against the law. He told you himself, I ain't come to change nothing. All right, where we at? Isaiah 1. Let's get an example. What was going on? Give me Mark. Mark chapter 3. Start at verse 1.
The book of Mark, chapter 3 and verse 1. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had an withered hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they watched him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day.
So these guys were watching to see, what's he going to do? Don't they do the same thing to us? They go through all our videos. Hours and hours of videos. They do it, Captain Gadaliah, man. They on him, man. They love him. They watch all our videos and all the things that we're teaching on marriage, on loving your neighbor as yourself, on loving your children, how to be a good father, how to be a good brother, how to be a good wife, how to be a good son, how to be a leader within your community. Guess what? They bypass all of that, and then they take one little 5-second snippet, and they chop and screw it up. Watching. Read that again, because this is what they're doing today.
And they watched him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him.
You see, they don't watch us sincerely in order to learn God's word. They watch us in order to what? Accuse us to our own people that we're trying to save out of these decrepit situations they're in right now. Look, I mean, you go out here in Philly, for those who know, you go out here in Philly, is a bunch of evil out here. We're trying to save the souls of our people from the evil that's out there. But guess what? You have these apollopathetics watching us to see what we're going to say, what we're going to do, take a little small 5-10 second clip, misconstrue it, chop and screw it up in order to accuse us. But forget the hours and hours and hours of videos on how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to be a father, how to take care of your wife. No, forget all that. Forget all that. They want to take something to accuse us. This is the spirit of the Pharisees, and we're not supposed to do that, because guess what? It could creep into here. Sometimes somebody might get happy because one of your brothers falls. Don't do that. That's the same spirit the Pharisees had. All right? Keep reading.
And he saith unto the man which had the withered hand, stand forth.
You don't think Christ knew they were watching him? He knew. I mean, he knew what they were doing. He's like, he ain't afraid. Like, all right, come on, stand forth. You think it's going to stop us? We know they're watching us. We ain't going to stop. Because our Father told us we got to preach out there. Go to the highways and byways. Cry loud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions. That's what our Father told us to do. That's what we're
this
going
day.
to do. We don't care what these people gotta say. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. All right. Read that again.
And he saith unto the man which had the withered hand, stand forth. And he saith unto them.
So now, this is proof that he knew what they were doing. That he knew they were watching, because after he told the man, the brother, to stand forth, stand up, he went and told the Pharisees what?
Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace.
You see? So he's asking them, because they're watching, is he going to heal the man? So they could accuse him. So he knew they were watching. He told the man, yo, stand up. And then he told them, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath, or to do evil? Was it
to save life, or to kill?
To save life or to kill? They stayed quiet. Read.
But they held their peace. And when he had looked round about them with anger.
So he was angry. He's like, yo, these guys are not going to answer me. They can't answer a simple question. Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath, or to do evil? To save a life or to kill? You can't answer that question. He was angry. Because they were being simple as hell. Why? Because what were they doing? They were killing innocent people on the Sabbaths. To them, that was lawful. But Christ healing a man wasn't lawful. To do good on the Sabbath, to help your brother, is not lawful. But to kill somebody who's innocent, that was helping somebody, now that's lawful to them. That's why they held their peace, because they were being cut up. Read.
And when he had looked round about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he saith unto the man, stretch forth thine hand.
He still went and did it. Read.
And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth, and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him.
So what they do, they went to the politicians. They went to the mayors, the governors, the politicians, because they couldn't deal with Christ according to the scriptures, because he wasn't doing anything wrong. If they could catch him in something wrong and evil, they would have done it, but they couldn't. So where they go? They went to the politicians. They went to the ADL, APAC. They went to the president, the governors, to write laws to go against Christ. They went to Pilate. Likewise today, it's going to happen today, and it's happening today. These politicians are working hand in hand with these pastors. The ADL, what is it? The Canary Mission. What do you got? The Israel Lobby and all these other things. The Jewish Community Relations Council. All these things. The foundation of to combat anti-Semitism. There was actually a article that Deacon Yashua had put in a group, how migrants that are coming in, or they have legal status here, those that are flying back in, they visit somewhere, they come back, they're gonna be searching their social media sites, their Facebook pages and profiles, to see if there's any anti-Semitic things on there in order to revoke their legal status here. That's what they're doing. This is just the beginning. They are the Herodians. These politicians, Donald Trump, the United States of America, and the government, these are the Herodians. Look what it says. DHS to begin screening alien social media activity for anti-Semitism. That's starting off with the illegal immigrants, right? So-called. But it's gonna come to us. You best believe it. Just like the Pharisees. Read verse 6 again.
Verse 6. And the Pharisees went forth, and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him.
How they might destroy him. They couldn't do it according to the scriptures. Let's go to the so-called white man. Let's go to Herod and his government. Let's go to the Romans. Actually, get that in was it John? It says they were worried about John, I forget. No, is it? I forget. I haven't been there in a minute. No, 11. Is it John 11? John 11. Start at 47.
John chapter 11, verse 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation.
So they were worried about their own position, their authority. They're worried about, what's the white man going to do to us? What's the so-called white man going to do to us? What the Esau's going to do to us? This guy's hurting our pockets. Everybody's going to believe in them if we leave him alone. What are we going to do? Let's go to the Romans. Let's go to the Herodians. Let's go to the politicians. Let's set up laws. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing now. That's what they did before. Now let's go back to Hebrews 8. Verse 4.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 8 and verse 4. For if he were on the earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law, who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern shewed thee in the mount.
So you see, the tabernacle we had, the temple we had here on earth was not the true. Christ is the high priest of the true. He's the true high priest. He's the final sacrifice. He is the one that came. Let's go back to Matthew 5:17.
Matthew chapter 5 verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
He came to fulfill. Again, let's get another one in Matthew 4:14.
Matthew chapter 4 verse 14. That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet.
Again, it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah. Another prophecy by Isaiah. So you have Isaiah, Hosea, Jeremiah, Moses, Psalms, King David, right? Give me Matthew 8, verse 17.
Matthew chapter 8, verse 17. That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet.
Another prophecy by Isaiah that was fulfilled. That's what Christ came for, to fulfill the law and the prophets, those prophecies. Give me Matthew 12, verse 17. We're just running through a couple. There's a lot, but just a couple. So y'all could get the idea. Read.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 17. That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet.
Another prophecy by Isaiah. Give me 13:14.
Matthew chapter 13, verse 14. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah.
Again, Isaiah was a mighty prophet, man. It's a mighty prophet, man. That book of Isaiah. All right, let's jump to 35, the same chapter.
Verse 35. That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
So where do you read that? You read that in Psalms. The prophet in Psalms. We know who that is. Guess what? Psalms was also, here it's talking about the prophet, but also, give me John 10. Is it John 10? Shoot in the blank. Let me see. Or is it John 10, verse 34. Yep. What's Psalms considered as well? Read.
John chapter 10, verse 34. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law? I said ye are gods.
What's he quoting? Psalms. So Psalms is also the law. The law. And it's also the prophets. So guess what? The whole Old Testament writing is the law and the prophets. It's not just the first 5 books, because here you have Christ out of his own mouth saying that Psalms is the law. Go back to where we were at, Matthew 13, verse 35.
Matthew chapter 13, verse 35.
Uh-huh.
That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
Now let's go to John 1. Just showing you how Christ came to fulfill the law and the prophets. It's not talking about him doing away or some magical reason that, because it's confusing, man, when they say these things. They say he didn't destroy the law. He just fulfilled this for us so we don't have to keep it. That makes no sense whatsoever, because now they're leaving out the prophets part. How does he keep the prophets? How does he fulfill? Like, tell me how. In the context that in which they bring that understanding to their, what they call it, hermeneutics, exegete, eisegete. I don't even know. I don't even bother trying to understand that stuff. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathing. The logic is not there. All right. Some of them got their, logic in their name, but they got no logic.
What?
That's false advertising, man. Let's see. Where we at? My bad. I forgot.
John 1.
John 1, verse 43. Yes.
John chapter 1, verse 43. The day following, Jesus will go forth into Galilee and find Philip and saith unto him, Follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip findeth Nathanael and saith unto him,
What he said unto Nathanael?
We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and in the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.
Again. So Moses also wrote of Christ, and it was fulfilled again. Where do you read that? Deuteronomy 18, verse 18. Let's get that. Let's get Deuteronomy 18:18. So we're seeing, a pattern of all these prophecies that have been fulfilled that were written in the law and the prophets, which Christ said, I didn't come to destroy none of that. I just came, you see the things they wrote? I came to fulfill those things. And guess what? There's still many prophecies that are in the law and the prophets that have yet to be fulfilled. So how is it that we're not, what does that have to do with us keeping the law? What does that have to do with us not shaving our beard? What does that have to do with women wearing dresses and not wearing pants? What does that have to do with not sleeping around, not fornicating, not committing adultery? What does that have to do with any of that? Read.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him.
All right, let's go back now to Matthew 5. Matthew 5, where we at? Verse 17. We're still in that first verse.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
So now we know what that's talking about. Don't let no Christian, no apologetics dupe you into understanding this in some other way. When we went through all the scriptures, not all of them, but we went through a slew of scriptures to show you what it's really talking about. All right, let's go to the next verse, 18.
Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
So he's letting you know, not one dot, not one comma, nothing from the law is gonna pass. Nothing. We still got the heavens today. You see the sky. We still got the earth today. Nothing's passed until everything's fulfilled. Everything has yet to be fulfilled. Has yet to be fulfilled. We haven't seen what Exodus 15. Us passing over and the fear and the dread falling upon Edom and Moab and the inhabitants of Palestina and the inhabitants of Canaan. That has yet to come to pass when we go into the land. And the sanctuary established by the hand of the Lord is there. It's still not there yet. It has yet to come to pass. So guess what? Nothing from the law is done yet until all be fulfilled. Read.
Verse 19.
Uh-huh.
Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
So give me same book, 19, verse 16.
Matthew chapter 19, verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?
So that's a question we all want to answer, right? What good thing do I have to do? Because they tell you today that you don't have to do anything. It's all faith. But here, this person is asking Christ directly, what do I have to do to have eternal life, to get the kingdom? Let's see if Christ says, no, just believe. Believe, you don't have to do anything, just believe. Read.
And he said unto him,
Uh-huh.
Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
Out of Christ's own mouth. Keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. That's what you have to do to enter into life. Let's go back to Matthew 5, verse 20.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 20. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
So if our righteousness does not surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees, we're not going to enter the kingdom. And we already know that the Pharisees were what? Hypocrites. Give me John 7. Our righteousness has to surpass their righteousness. We can't be hypocrites. We can't say thing and do another like they were doing when you read Matthew 23. And there's one thing that there's a misconception. I come across many people that think that the Pharisees actually kept the law when they didn't. Give me that, John 7, 19.
Yes, sir. John chapter 7, verse 19. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law?
You see, they don't keep the law. And yet, were there some laws they kept? Yes. But there's a reason why they kept it, and it was not for the right reason. Read that again.
Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keep the law?
The Pharisees did not keep the laws. These Christians, I remember when Deacon Athan, he had that, it was supposed to be a sit down. It was a lot of years ago. It was supposed to be a sit down, but the pastor, the brother, turned it to a debate. And what did he say? He said, Christ broke the Sabbath. But that was a talking point that the Pharisees were saying against Christ. That was unfounded, because if he was breaking the Sabbath, they would have put him to death for that, and they would have found something to accuse him of. But they didn't. So why are Christians taking up the talking points of the Pharisees when they're trying to go against the law? That's what they're doing, if you think about it. They're taking the talking points of the Pharisees to speak against Christ and accuse him. Falsely accuse him. They're bearing false witness when they say that. When the Pharisees themselves, they couldn't. They had to stay shut. They couldn't catch him on him breaking the Sabbath. If they could, they would. Anyways, read that again, John 7:19.
John chapter 7, verse 19. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me?
You see, they go about to kill him because they had hatred in their hearts. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to put him to death. So if they could have caught him breaking the Sabbath, they would have killed him. I mean, they did end up killing him. All right. But it was a prophecy that had to be fulfilled. Let's go to Matthew 23, verse 1.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then spake Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
So the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. What was Moses' seat in which they sat on? What did they do? What was the position they held? Give me Exodus 18, verse 20. What did they do? What was Moses' seat that they sat? What was they held that position that Moses held? Read.
Exodus chapter 18, verse 12.
20.
Verse 20. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt shew them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do.
So read that again.
And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws.
Teaches ordinances and laws. That was what Moses was doing. That's his seat. Read.
And shall shew them the way wherein they must walk.
The way in which we must walk, meaning the things we have to do to order our life, how to treat your brother, how to treat your sister, how to treat your wife, your children, so on and so forth. Read.
And the work that they must do.
That's the work we must do, the laws. Read.
Moreover.
Actually, my bad. Go back to Matthew 23, verse 2.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 2, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do.
So Christ telling us, whatever the scribes and the Pharisees taught, make sure you do it. Observe and do it. That's Christ saying it. Read.
But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
You see, for they do teach the law, but they don't keep the law, like we read in John 7:19. They teach, but they don't keep. That's why Matthew 5:20, Christ himself say, our righteousness has to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. How do we do that? By doing what they teach. Because they teach and they don't do. They're hypocrites. All right? Keep reading.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne.
Actually, hold that. Let's go to Matthew 5. Let's read verse 19.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
So you see, they were breaking the commandments. Now they were teaching them, but they were breaking them. Read.
But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
So let's go back to Matthew 23, verse 3 again.
Matthew 23, verse 3. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Hypocrites, read.
But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge their borders of their garments.
You see, so they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. So yeah, they have fringes on, but why did they have fringes? So they could be seen as righteous. So any laws that they were seen keeping, they were doing it, why? To be seen of men. For vain glory. They wanted the glory of men instead of just doing it. Hey, the Lord wants. I remember when I first came across the truth. Man, I was broke. So I had what they call the poor man fringes. On all my tank tops, I would cut the bottom, and then I'll just sew a border of blue. And I sewed it by hand, too. I'll watch a classroom video, and I'll sew the ribbon of blue by hand. I got better, too. As I'll be able to do maybe one shirt during the class. Then I got to doing 2 shirts. Then I just, started doing a bunch. Then I got myself a sewing machine because it took too long. And I started getting fringes and whatnot. But guess what? I was doing it because the Lord told me, you better put fringes on your garments. The borders of your garments. Put on fringes and a border of blue. I wasn't doing it to be seen of men. But here, any laws they did keep, and for example, this one was to be seen of men, to seek the glory of men and not the glory and honor of God. Read verse 5 again.
But all their works they do For to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts.
Give me Galatians 1 verse 10.
Galatians chapter 1 verse 10. For do I now persuade men or God? Do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I shall not be the servant of Christ.
Meaning he's not a man pleaser. He's not here to seek the honor and glory of men. He's just here to do what Christ taught him to do and told him to do. Whether people like him or not, whether he gets honor and glory from men or not, he doesn't care. Paul came to do what God told him to do. Now, Paul here is saying if he's seeking to be a man pleaser, to please men, that he's not a servant of Christ, because now he's being a servant of man and not of Christ. Right? Give me Galatians 5, verse 26.
Galatians chapter 5, verse 26. Let us not be desirous of vain glory, provoking one another, envying one another.
So you see what happens? When you desire vainglory, you're provoking one another and you're envying one another, because now you're what? You're being covetous. You want that position. You want that rank. You want that authority. You want that brother's wife. You want his car. You want this. You want that. What? To be seen, to be propped up in the eyes of the people. Now you're not even serving Christ anymore, because you're going to rob, cheat, and steal in order to get the things you want to get, in order to be seen in a certain light by your peers or whoever it is that you want to be seen by, whether it's at work or whoever. It doesn't matter. You're not serving Christ anymore. Give me Philippians 2 and 3. This is what it means to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. Don't do what they did. They did things to be seen of men. Vainglory, strife, provoking one another, murders. Read.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves.
That's how we avoid that spirit of vainglory and strife. Esteem your brother better than yourself, man. Stop having bitterness and envies and strife. Stop trying to do things in order to be seen of men. Your righteousness has to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees if you want to make it into the kingdom. That's what Christ said. And if you're dealing with that spirit, guess what? You're not going to make it. If you're letting that spirit overcome you, you're not going to make it. You have to overcome. You have to endure. You have to bring your body into subjection, like Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9. Bring this body into subjection. Do not do things with vainglory and strife. Do nothing with vainglory and strife. Don't worry about how men see you. Worry about how God sees you. And God put leaders in place to teach us and show us the way we must go, according to the scriptures. Let God be true and every man a liar. All right? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 14:14. Then Colossians 3.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 verse 14. For by the vainglory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
There you go. Vainglory is going to bring you to an end. Colossians 3, verse 22.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 22. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God.
For example, at our jobs, for those of y'all that be stealing things at work, yeah, your job doesn't tell you nothing, but guess what? The Most High sees it. But the reason you're stealing is because the people at your job, the men, the men at your job, you're not being called out for it. So you just keep stealing. But God sees it. So who are you serving? Now, if they were to tell you to stop, you'll listen. But God is telling you to stop and you don't listen. So who are you serving? You're not serving Christ. You're serving your own self. Vainglory. Read.
And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men.
Do it for the Lord's sake, not because they said so. The Lord said, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie, don't bear false witness. So don't just do it because some man told you to do it. Do it because God told you to do it. Because you know what happens? When nobody is looking, you're not going to do those things. You only do those things when people are around. That's called being a man pleaser. That's called being vainglorious. That's called being a Pharisee. That's called doing the works you do to be seen of men and not seeking the glory and honor from God. You just want men to see you. You want to be seen in a certain light by people. That's the only reason you do these things. That's the only reason you show up. All right? Let's go where we at. Wait, you finished 23?
Yes.
Read 23 again, my bad.
Verse 23. And whatsoever ye do, do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men.
Give you Matthew 6:1.
The book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 1. Take heed that you do not your arms before men.
Your arms?
Yeah, excuse me. Let me read it again. Take heed that you do not your alms before men, to be seen of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven.
So it's the same thing. Don't let, as far as in this case, alms, right? If you give alms, there's no reason for you to tell nobody, hey, I gave this much or that much. Don't worry about it. Just give willingly. Give cheerfully. Don't do it to be seen of men, because guess what? That's your reward. When you get, oh, I gave this much money, that much money, this and that. I did this, I did that. And you're telling people and they're like trying to make it known, there's your reward. That glory you're getting from men, there your reward. And the Father's not going to reward you because you have your reward already. Read.
Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets.
That's what the Pharisees were doing. In the synagogues and the streets, they were announcing, look what I'm doing. Look what I did. Look at me. Look at me. Read.
That they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
They have their reward. Read.
But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand knoweth what thy right hand doth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly.
Read.
And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men.
That they may be seen of men. Vain glory. So all the things they did, whether it's give alms, whether it's wear their fringes, whether it's make prayers, whatever they did, they made sure that they were seen of men. That was the driving force behind them keeping any semblance of the law. Any law that they seemed to be keeping is because they wanted to be seen by somebody. That's the only reason. But behind closed doors, guess what? They were killing, they were murdering, they were adulterers, fornicators, haters, strife, provoking one another. All these evil, contentious spirits within them when there was nobody around. All right, let's go. Actually, give me Luke 12, verse 1. Remember, it says we have to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. This is a warning from Christ. Likewise, here, read.
Luke chapter 12 and verse 1. In the meantime, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trode one upon another, he began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy.
So he warned his apostles, his disciples, be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. What is that? Vainglory, teaching and not doing. We have to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisee. Be careful of that leaven. The little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. We just finished celebrating Passover. Do not be a hypocrite and go back to the things you were doing prior. That's called being a hypocrite. Excuse me. Let's get Sirach 32. Sirach 32, verse 15. This is what hypocrisy is going to do to you. Read that.
Sirach chapter 32, verse 15. He that seeketh the law shall be filled therewith, but the hypocrite will be offended thereat.
So that's why when Christ came on the scene and he was correcting the Pharisees, and they were hypocrites, they had the leaven of hypocrisy, right? That he warned his apostles about, his disciples about. He also warned the people on the mount about it too in Matthew 5, that our righteousness has to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. So he warned us about that hypocrisy. Matthew 23 likewise. So now we understand that the reason why they were offended at Christ is because he was bringing the law to them. Because a hypocrite does not like the law. He is offended at the law. Read 33, verse 2.
Sirach chapter 33, verse 2. A wise man hateth not the law, but he that is an hypocrite therein is as a ship in a storm.
What a wise man, when you bring the law, he's not going to hate it. He's not going to get offended at the law. But a hypocrite, he's going to be what? Double-minded. One way here, one way there. He's going to be like a ship in a storm. How's a ship in a storm? Up and down, sideways, going this way, going that way. And unstable. Unstable. Give me chapter 1, verse 29. The same book.
Sirach chapter 1, verse 29. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what thou speakest.
You see, don't be a hypocrite in the sight of men, because that goes back into that vain glory spirit. Because behind closed doors, you're one way. But in front of men, you're being a hypocrite. You're showing off. You're doing things you don't usually do. Because what? You're in front of men. Read that again.
Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men.
In the sight of men. Because if you're doing things you usually don't do because you're being seen, you're being a hypocrite. Do not be a hypocrite in the sight of men. Don't do things just because to be seen, just because you want to be seen, just because you want to be thought of in a certain light or whatever. You're being a hypocrite. Don't just do it because, oh, Bishop's around now. Why don't you do it with your direct superior, whether you're a soldier? Why don't you do that with your 10 or your 20 or whatever it may be? Don't be a hypocrite. Read that again.
Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed what thou speakest.
Take good heed what you speak, because as a man thinketh, so is he. Out of the treasures of a man's heart, a man speaks, right? Give me Job 27, verse 8.
The book of Job, chapter 27 and verse 8. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he have gain, when God taketh away his soul?
So what's the hope of a hypocrite? He's gained all these things in the world. He's got fortune, fame. He's got all the things that make him look good. What's the hope of him when God takes away his soul and he gets put to death? Read.
Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him?
Will God hear him out when trouble comes upon him? Whether it's in this life or in the next, or when he's thrown in the lake of fire and he's screaming in agony, asking for a drop of water on his tongue? No, God's not going to hear him out. Let's go back to Matthew 6. Was it? We were at 5?
Yes, sir. You want verse 5 again?
Actually, let's just go. Read 5. Read verse 5.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 5. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are. For they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
Give me John 5:43. We're almost done. John 5:43.
The book of John, chapter 5, verse 43.
Actually, hold on. Okay, yeah, 43. Yeah, sorry, 43.
I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not.
Uh-huh.
If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive.
Uh-huh. If somebody else came in his own name, seeking man's glory, they'll receive him. Read.
How can ye believe which receiveth honor one of another,
Uh-huh.
and seek not the honor that cometh from God only?
They were worried about seeking man's honor. They were amongst their own circles, just like Rehoboam, seeking the counsel of his own friends that he grew up with instead of the counsel of the wise men that were with his father. No, he went to his buddies. Hey, what do you think? This and that. They were comparing each other to each other. What's that in Corinthians as well, right? 2 Corinthians 10 and 12.
2 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 12.
Uh-huh.
For we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves.
They commend themselves. They're seeking the honor of each other, the glory of men, vain glory. They're doing things to be seen, giving each other props. Instead of seeking the counsel of men above you that know better, that's been here longer than you, that could see the nonsense you're dealing with, that could tell you where you're going off. No, you want to go to your buddies. Because they're going to make you feel good. They're going to say the things you want to hear to make you feel good because you're vainglorious. And you're dishonorable to God. And you're provoking one another to evil and strife and malice to gain things in the world, to be seen of men. Because you don't want to go to the captain. You don't want to go to the deacon or whoever else that's above you so they could tell you the BS you're in. They could tell you what you're not doing right. Because you're going to be offended at the law. You're going to be offended at Christ, just like the hypocrites, just like the Pharisees. Where we at? Yeah, finish that. Finish 12.
But they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise.
That's not wisdom to do that. Back to John 5:44.
John chapter 5 and verse 44. How can ye believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that cometh from God only?
You see, they're not seeking the honor that comes from God. They're seeking the honor from men, to be seen of men. That's all they care about. That is their reward. Give me Romans 2, verse 23.
Romans chapter 2, verse 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonoreth thou God?
You see, through breaking the law, you're dishonoring God. So how you seek the honor of God? You keep the laws. That's how you get the honor of God. Whether people see you or not. Well, where's that script where it says, not in my presence only? Can you find that? Not in our presence only. You got to keep these laws when people are around, when people are not around. Why? Because you're seeking the honor from God, not from men. Do not be a hypocrite, and be careful of being a hypocrite in the sight of men. Philippians 2 and 12. Get that.
The book of Philippians, chapter 2 and verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not in my presence only.
See, they obeyed not in his presence only. Read.
Not in my presence only, but now, much more in mine absence.
Much more in his absence, because what? They were not hypocrites. What they did when men weren't around, they were doing it when men were around, so they weren't a hypocrite in the sight of men. They weren't boasting and vainglorious. They weren't seeking the honor of men. They were doing it because, hey, that's what they do. Let's go back. Where were we at? We're in Romans 2, 2:23 again.
Yes, sir. Romans chapter 2, verse 23. Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonor thou God?
You see, that's how you dishonor God. That's how you don't get the honor from God, by breaking the laws and being a hypocrite. Back to and another, we already read it, where the Pharisees and were worried about everybody believing in Christ in John 11 and the Romans coming to take their place. They were just worried about men. How are they going to see us? What they going to think about us? Instead of, hey, just do what God told you to do. You already know that someone was going to come and die for the nation, but you're here preventing that because you're worried about how you're seen. You're worried about your hypocrisy. Let's go to Matthew 23 again.
Matthew chapter 23,
Verse 5.
verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments.
So these are the things, everything they seem to be doing as far as the laws being kept, they were doing it to be seen. That's the only reason. But when it came, you saw all the interactions Christ had with the Pharisees. They were always going at it. And when I mean at it, I mean according to the scriptures. Christ was always coming back to them with the law, and they did not like it. They were being offended. Give me Matthew 11, verse 6. They were being offended because what? Hypocrisy. They were saying but not doing. They were being seen of men, and that's what they wanted. Vainglory. Read.
Matthew chapter 11 and verse 6. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me.
That's what Christ said. Blessed is he who's not offended in me. Let's go back to Sirach 32 and 15. Blessed is he who is not offended in me, because well, guess what? The hypocrite is going to be offended at the words of Christ. The hypocrite is not going to like what Christ says, the black Messiah says. Because guess what? White man Jesus, they come and they freaking twist the scriptures and they make it seem like he's not teaching the law. Like no, the true Christ of the scriptures, the black Messiah, guess what? He brings forth the law. And if you really believe in him, you're not a hypocrite, you will not be offended in the law. Read.
Sirach chapter 32 verse 15. He that seeketh the law shall be filled therewith. But the hypocrite will be offended thereat.
See, the hypocrite will be offended at the law, offended at Christ. Give me Matthew 5. Let's go back to Matthew 5, verse 9.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted.
No, 9 again. My bad.
Verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.
The peacemakers shall be called the children of God. Why did I go there? Because, I mean, we already touched this in the previous class I did. But let's go to Psalms 119, verse 165. Why did I go there as far as the hypocrite being offended at the law? Let's see what this says.
Psalms chapter 119, verse 165. Great peace have they which love the law,
Read.
and nothing shall offend them.
Read it again.
Great peace have they which love thy law.
Those that love the law are going to be at peace. Guess what? The hypocrite is offended at the law, so he won't be at peace. Read the second part.
And nothing shall offend them.
Why? Because they love the law. The hypocrite is offended at the law, so guess what? He's not going to be at peace. So when you go back to Matthew 5 and 9.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers.
Those that love his law and are not offended in him, are not hypocrites. Read.
For they shall be called the children of God.
They are the children of God because they teach and they do the commandments. They're not hypocrites. They don't go and be one way in front of people and then back at the ranch he's doing something else or she's doing something else. You call your husband Lord in front of people, but back at the ranch you call him by his first name or you say babe or this and that. You're being a freaking hypocrite. It's not just for the sisters, just in general. That's the main one that came to mind. All right, let's finish off. Let's finish off with Matthew 5 and 20.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 20. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
So with that, we just finished reading what Christ said. Our righteousness has to surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees. We can't be hypocrites. We can't be vainglorious. We can't be worrying about how people see us. The main person we should be worrying about on how he sees us is the Lord. Follow his commandments. Follow his order. Follow the men he has put above us and that are teaching us. That is what we should be doing. Don't go to your peers or men under you or women to make yourself feel good about yourself. We always have to strive to remove the leaven out from us and not be like the Pharisees that were comparing themselves to each other, seeking the glory of men. So with that, Israel, my name is also Yakin. I say shalom. Most High Christ bless you all.
Nation is men leading by example.